Hi, this is Deborah. Welcome back. I thought I'd create a series on leadership and begin to sort of break down how leadership really works, what it really means, and how we can up our game and become better leaders in every area of our lives. I think the biggest misconception about leadership is that that person should know everything, or that person should never make mistakes, or that person should be perfect. And nothing's really further from the truth, frankly. A really good leader is someone that circles themselves with people that are more talented than they are, and then has the ability to coach them into higher levels of performance, so that they bring their greatest efforts forward, and in the bringing of those greatest efforts forward, it's a team process that delivers on an end result that is pre-identified before they begin. So that's how I see a leader, and I think that looking at it from that perspective means that all those other assumptions that they need to be perfect, they can never make mistakes, they have all the answers, really gives us the power back in terms of understanding that we choose these people based on skill sets and oftentimes just on charisma. You know, if you look at some world leaders, you can see that has happened throughout history. So let me just go into some maybe basic sort of traits or abilities or capabilities that we see that leaders typically have. And I think the number one is the visionary capacity. So a really good leader is a great visionary, and they're able to see the big picture and everything that comes into the fold of that big picture. They're able to project out into a macro view and allow in all of the smaller components of that vision so that they can see how all the dots connect. They also have a tremendous ability to disassociate. And so they can take themselves out of the equation and see themselves in the equation simultaneously, so they can see how everything works or does. Leader also has the capacity, in being that visionary, to chunk that big picture vision down into achievable steps. And the mind of the leader who allow them to communicate with you, how you allow them to treat you, and it's how you respond to that communication. It's how you respond to that treatment. So we're training people all the time. You know, leadership and teams, it's a dynamic. You know, all relationships are dynamic. And so we're training others how to treat us, how to relate to us based on how we respond to them, and how gotten into some bad habits where you've trained your team to either disrespect you or not follow through or not be accountable, then you're going to have to retrain them, and they're not going to like it, because it's kind of like training process, taking responsibility for how you've not led well, and then be prepared to repeat yourself a lot and hold true to the things that you say and that you're committed to. Eventually they'll come around. They may not like it, but eventually they will come around, because you're going to have to retrain them. And the only way to retrain them is through your behavior, through how you respond to what you say to them, and then how they respond to that. Now, self-awareness is the key to being a really good leader. If you're not self-aware, if you're not aware of your communication style, if you're not aware of your body language, because it's 55% of communication, if you're not aware of your tonality when you're communicating, which is 38% of communication, then the 7% that's left, that's content, isn't going to have the effect that it could have. And so self-awareness is really the key. Now, with self-awareness and you as a leader being really conscious, it means you're being present. So you're really paying attention to what they're saying and how they're saying it. So when they say something that isn't relevant or is a way of avoiding really dealing with the issue, you can bring the conversation and the communication back to whatever it is that you're seeking to resolve, rather than just glazing over it. Now, I know that this can be challenging, but how you communicate the what, so how you communicate what you communicate, is really the two have to match.Ose two dots have to line up. And in the coaching world, we call that congruency. When the body language, the nonverbal communication, matches the communication tonality and content, when all those dots connect, you have congruency. And that's what really good leaders are. That's what builds charisma. When you get up in front of an audience, when you get up in front of a room, in front of your team, and all the dots are lined up, that's where the charisma comes in, because you're congruent. And let me tell you, not very many people are congruent. You know, if you were to separate out the population, I think most people aren't. So if you are, then that automatically will make you shine and stand out above the rest. So being conscious, fully aware of your communication, verbal and nonverbal, and then your team's ability to receive accurate direction from you. Is it in alignment with where you're headed and the changes that you're seeking to make? Now, this is the biggest challenge for a leader. You say you want change, but you're not changing. So, leadership comes from within. And then you circle yourself with these high talented people for higher levels of performance, and now you've got things really moving forward for you. You're training your team how to perform, and you're training them how to respond, and you're training them how to engage based on how you come across. So the beauty of this is that all relationships are in some fashion a mirror. And, like I've said, I used to do couples coaching, and I used to say to the couples, don't complain about your spouse in public, because really what you're doing is making yourself look bad because you married them. And so it's the same when you're leading a team. If there's people on your team that are underperforming, you don't want to be taking that out into the world and complaining about them, because you hired them. You're leading them. So ultimately, at the end of the day, the change required must come from you. And as a leader, the onus is on you. Know your boundaries, know your deal breakers, coach these folks to higher levels of performance, get them the training that they need, and constantly set an expectation to raise the bar, not just for them, but for you too. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for sharing and Google Plusing and liking and subscribing and inviting your friends. It's a pleasure to work with you, and I look forward to seeing you again. Have a blessed day. Bye-bye. Ciao, ciao.